All right, hello, welcome back to Unqualified Analysis. Good morrow, fellow scholars. Today I'm dead tired, folks. Not gonna lie, my dog is just wandering around the office back here. She's just having a good old time. What are you doing, bub? Just exploring? Yeah. Yeah, you go ahead and look underneath that table. I'm sure you'll find something good. Today we have got even more free agency signings than we had last time, and they are official signings now because, the quote-unquote legal tampering period is over. It ended on last Wednesday. We got some stuff going on. I got a couple headlines outside of the free agent signings, mostly in college sports, specifically college football for, I'd say, probably half of those. But the vibes are high around here, man. I refuse to go to sleep at a proper time, and as a result, I have several consecutive days where I just have been getting not enough sleep. And at first, you can just kind of skate by with that. You do that 7 to 10 days in a row, and boy, I'm tired. I'm tired, kids. I'll tell you right now, though, I read an entire book last week. Read another 140 pages of another book going through the Dune series because, boys and girls, I saw the new Dune movie. And boy, oh boy, is that a treat. My goodness, is that a great movie. Highly recommend you go on and see that just for your own edification. But yeah, that is besides the point. That is all to say, vibes are high, energy low. Vibes are high, though. That's why we got this caffeinated beverage here. I've got, the will to go on, and with that, let's crack into some headlines, both free agency headlines first and foremost. And we'll just crack this thing open, shall we? Let's just get into it. That's a text that I'm gonna get to after I'm done with this episode. I'm sure old buddy can wait. He'll wait. He'll be fine whenever I text him around 7:30, whenever the hell I get done with this thing. Either way, here comes the burp. Oh, that's the downside of having this carbonated beverage here next to me. But you know what? It's going to get me through this whole episode here. So let us go all the way to the top here. And we've got about 1 million headlines to get to. So let's just pop this bad boy open. Some of them are free agency. Some of them are just personnel moves. I kind of lumped them all into one here just for the sake of, a lack of complexity. I guess that's what I'm going for there. Either way, we got a bunch. So let's just roll through these right quick. On Friday, All-Pro defensive tackle Aaron Donald of the LA Rams, his entire career, all 10 years, announced his retirement from football. Flirted with it the last couple of years, really starting after the Super Bowl. He really started flirting with retirement. So it's not totally out of the blue, but he officially makes the decision now. Surefire Hall of Famer. Maybe the greatest player of this past generation outside of Patrick Mahomes, but I think we can categorize Patrick Mahomes as the generation after Aaron Donald, I would say. Kind of concurrent either way. By far best defensive player of his generation, no question about it. And you look at that 2014 draft, and I'm not going to go through all the names. I'm talking Cam Newton was in that draft, Patrick Peterson was in that draft. Future Hall of Famers all star-studded throughout that draft. One of the greatest drafts of all time, in spite of there not being a whole lot of quarterbacks outside of that number one overall. The best one of the bunch actually, I don't even know if Cam Newton was in that, but I digress. That is besides the point. The best one of that bunch was Aaron Donald. You can go back and look at it. Of the names on that list that were drafted in 2014, Aaron Donald, in an all-time great draft, was the greatest player out of that draft. Probably a first ballot Hall of Famer, if I had to guess. Dude was dominant year after year. Only him and Barry Sanders are, the only players to go 10 seasons, 10 Pro Bowls. I don't know if that's just like you cap the number at 10. as in their career was only 10 years, but only those two guys have gone 10 seasons, 10 Pro Bowls. All-time great player, the type of player that changes the math for what an offense has to do blocking schemes-wise. There were some hilarious images throughout the course of his career that circulated through Twitter following his retirement, where you had guys like triple teaming, quadruple teaming him. There was one picture where it was against the Seattle Seahawks, obviously. There were two offensive linemen on each side of Aaron Donald blocking him. That was the picture, and Seahawks fans chimed in and said this was a sack, which is true, and it is hilarious how good of a player he was, how dominant he was, rushing up the middle, being a consistent pass rush threat. In that Super Bowl that the Rams won, absolutely annihilated. Who was it? Was it the Patriots? I think it might have been the Patriots. Just annihilated them up front, absolutely game-wrecked the entire final drive of that game. And that's really the stamp on his career, quite frankly. He has been again, surefire Hall of Famer, one of the greatest players of all time. He will be sorely missed. And now the Rams are staring right down the barrel of they lost their best player on defense and they lost their defensive coordinator of the last several years over there. I think he was, I think Brandon Staley might have been the defensive coordinator on the Super Bowl team. Could be wrong there. But Raheem Morris had some real good units there. So they're kind of completely remaking the defense from both a philosophical standpoint and a personnel standpoint. Congrats, though, on a fantastic career for Aaron Donald. I mean, it is insane, all the things that he was able to do and the way that he put fear into the hearts of offensive linemen, and really an all-time great retirement announcement from the LA Rams. It just had a picture of Aaron Donald lined up at the line of scrimmage, and I think it said something along the lines of offensive lines and quarterbacks rejoice. Hard. That goes hard as hell. Congrats to Aaron Donald for a fantastic career. Let's keep it moving, though. After bringing in Russell Wilson, we talked about that last week, the Pittsburgh Steelers are making a big move in the trade market. They traded Kenny Pickett to the Philadelphia Eagles for a 4th-round pick swap and 2 7ths next season. The decision was reportedly made, and this is a juicy one here, based on the way he reacted to the signing of Russell Wilson. Apparently, he was given assurances that, yeah, you're slated as number 1. You're going to be the guy that starts for us. Then they signed Russell Wilson. Mike Tomlin says, okay, you're going to have to compete for the starting job, which that is kind of the ethos of Mike Tomlin. He's not a guy that's just going to hand anyone a job. I think pretty much every player in there would say they're going to have to compete every single day to keep their job, which is kind of what the NFL is all about. Kenny Pickett decided, nope, just ship me out of here. And they said, all right, we're sending you to the Shadow Realm in a place that you have 0 chance of starting. How about that? He goes to the Philadelphia Eagles. Eagles have their backup quarterback now. And the Steelers were looking for that second way, or that second string quarterback after Mason Rudolph signed with the Tennessee Titans. Sorry, words are escaping me today. Might as well get another sip of this carbonated caffeinated beverage here. That was less of a sip and more of a couple gulps, but it is what it is. But that move, though, sending Kenny Pickett to the Shadow Realm, need a backup quarterback, or at least another quarterback on the roster so you can field an NFL football team, that move cleared the way for the Steelers to bring in their possible quarterback of the future. The Bears finally did it. They are trading Justin Fields to the Pittsburgh Steelers for, get this, a 6th-round pick. It's conditional. It becomes a 4th-round pick if Justin Fields plays more than half of the snaps this year, 51% of the snaps. If he plays 51% of the snaps this upcoming season, that pick will go from a 6th-round to a 4th-round pick in the 2025 NFL Draft. And now the Bears are officially on to the next chapter with Caleb Williams. And I know it is a little bit of homerism bias from some of the Bears fans, but they make a good point. Think about all of the number 1 draft picks, all of the number 1 overall picks of the recent years. I'm not sure there's anyone stepping into a better situation than Caleb Williams right now. Maybe not from a coaching standpoint, because make no mistake about it, if Matt Eberflus doesn't win next year, he's gone. But you look at the personnel that will be around Caleb Williams. I mean, you got DJ Moore there. They just traded for Keenan Allen, which we'll talk about here in just a bit. So you got a solid 1-2. You got Cole Kmet, who's a really solid tight end. You got a much improved offensive line in front of him, especially in the middle. They made some good strides there. Again, I'm telling y'all now, the Bears are not that far off from being a playoff team. They might be a playoff team next year, especially we'll see what happens with the Vikings. We got some news on them this week as well that we'll get to here in just a bit. But yeah, on to the next chapter with Caleb Williams. And they got a real window here over the next 3 years before they have to pay Caleb Williams a big-time contract to go out there and just go balls to the walls and try and compete for a championship. They probably won't do it this next year, but 2025, there's really nothing stopping them from going hard in free agency. All they need to do is hit in a couple draft picks, make some good free agent pickups, and boy, they are off to the races, man. It is going to be interesting to watch what happens in Chicago. I regret to inform everyone, and I regret to admit that Ryan Poles may in fact know what he is doing over there. 6th-round pick, not exactly what they were looking for, but it got to a point where I don't think they were going to get that Sam Darnold package. And I've heard that kind of bandied around by, Adam Schefter, all that sort of stuff. And I think it comes down to, just like no one's paying the fully guaranteed $230 million contract that Deshaun Watson got with the Cleveland Browns, when it comes to the Panthers, not everyone is as dumb as the Panthers trading a 2nd-round pick and a bunch of later-round picks for Sam Darnold. Like, a lot of teams aren't going to do that. So, understandable. You just get salvage value. You don't want the weird interpersonal dynamics of a guy that's been there for several years that the team likes, backing up Caleb Williams. If Caleb Williams stumbles a little bit, the locker room's going to be calling for Justin Fields to go in there. Not a great situation to put a rookie guy in there. Not a whole lot of room for him to develop when he's looking over his shoulder at every single turn. So a move that had to be done, at least they got something for him, even if it is a pick in next year's draft. As for the Pittsburgh Steelers, I know Mike Tomlin kind of, texted Russell Wilson, texted some insiders, said, hey, Russell Wilson is the starter right now. Justin Fields will compete. Call me a bit of a conspiracy theorist, but I don't think it's that far-fetched. If Justin Fields goes out there and balls in camp, I think that there's a real good chance that Justin Fields starts week 1, and especially with the rushing ability that Justin Fields has compared to Russell Wilson, it's night and day right now, man. And I don't know if their passing is so drastically different from one another to just blanket go with Russell Wilson right out of the gate. I think there's definitely a real consideration to go with Justin Fields there, especially since you're going to have to make a decision on his 5th-year option. You got to do that this offseason. But assuming that they pick up that 5th-year option, which there's no guarantee to that. In fact, maybe it's more likely that they don't, quite frankly. But even so, he's making more money than Russell Wilson this year. I think there's a real shot that Justin Fields comes out there and starts for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and especially with what he brings in the rushing ability, getting into Arthur Smith's offense that is very good at scheming up the run. Do not be fooled by what we saw that putrid offense do last year in Atlanta. Before that, he was one of the most creative run scheme coordinators in the entire NFL, and I expect a lot more of that with the Pittsburgh Steelers in this upcoming season. You plug Justin Fields into that, man, this could be a really dynamic rushing offense with just enough of a passing element to get by and move the sticks when you need to, get a big play whenever you can. That was also a hallmark of Arthur Smith's offense with the Tennessee Titans. People forget, Brian Tannehill had his very best season in the NFL when he was with Arthur Smith as the offensive coordinator. A lot of deep balls down the field that went very, very well. Helps to have A.J. Brown, but still, you got a good, solid core in place, good offensive line. I think a solid run game coordination. I just feel like Justin Fields might be the better option, quite frankly. I don't know what Russell Wilson still has left in the tank at this point. So watch out for that QB competition. I think it is much more open than what the insiders are leading people to believe right now, just based on the quality of each player. They're close enough to each other to where you can't just blanketly say, oh, we're going with Russell Wilson no matter what. If Justin Fields comes out there and balls, don't be shocked. Don't be shocked if he's starting week 1 next year. And if he doesn't start week 1, I'd be shocked if he didn't start at some point in this upcoming season, unless Russell Wilson really has a renaissance sort of year in this one. Yeah, that's going to be something to watch. Now we're getting into some free agent stuff right now after we've gotten past the big-time headlines here. Former Titans center Aaron Brewer is signing with the Dolphins on a 3-year, $21 million contract. Good signing. They needed some help in the middle there. The Dolphins' offensive line has been kind of at best. They lost Robert Hunt last week on a monster contract that I'm not sure anyone else was going to give him. Still got Teron Armstead, but he's been flirting with retirement over the last couple of years. You need some help in the middle is the thing, especially with Robert Hunt leaving. And I think, Aaron Brewer can step in quite nicely. He was about the only one that was worth a damn on that Titans offensive line last year. So good step in the right direction for the Miami Dolphins. Quarterback Jacoby Brissett is signing back with the New England Patriots after a long journey around the league. Let's see if he plays the role of bridge quarterback or the starter for them next season. From there, it was only a matter of time. You all knew it already. Sam Darnold, he's the new quarterback of the Minnesota Vikings. 1 year, up to $10 million. I think it's like 8 some guaranteed. Okay, whatever. Would have loved to have Jacoby Brissett, but it is what it is there. He's not going to be the starter long term. We're drafting somebody this year, and that is even more evidenced by what the Vikings did later in the week. But one thing at a time. Jacoby Brissett to the Pats, Sam Darnold to the Vikings. So it is what it is, folks. It just simply is what it is. The Seahawks are retaining defensive end Leonard Williams for 3 years, $64.5 million with 42 of that guaranteed. He's a guy that came over from the Giants last year, balled out, earned that contract extension, got a big payday, and frankly, the Seahawks couldn't afford to let him out the door because they don't really have a whole lot in the way of front seven talent right now. A lot of guys walked out the door this offseason. Need some more help in the middle of that defense, which I'm sure they're at this point they're going to have to address in the draft to make up for it. But hey, Mike McDonald coming in, got his work cut out for him, man. You got to replace both safeties. You got to bolster the interior of that defensive line. Having Leonard Williams there will almost certainly help out in that facet. The Texans are retaining wide receiver Noah Brown after a solid first year in Houston. I believe it's a 1-year deal. Nothing too substantial, but you keep a guy that C.J. Stroud liked a lot in town. I'm fairly neutral on this signing. It's a good guy to have. I have a feeling that the Texans are going to go into the draft and look at receiver probably in the mid rounds, maybe. We'll see. They bolstered up the defense a lot throughout free agency, and they lost some guys like Jonathan Grenard, Blake Cashman, both members of the Minnesota Vikings now. So they got some guys to replace over there, but overall, maybe they go defense in first round. Maybe they go offensive line. We'll see. But I feel like they're going to get weapons in the draft at some point to help out C.J. Stroud. They're going to be making a big push, and that they were not done after signing Noah Brown. Far from it, quite frankly. Just skipped right over. I don't know how I skipped right over it, but the 49ers are signing former Panthers defensive end Yetur Gross-Matos. Never quite lived up to his second-round billing with the Panthers. Honestly, never put in a great situation, but 2 years, $18 million. I guess a little rich for me personally, but hey, you go into that 49ers defense, you're rushing opposite of Nick Bosa. Worst situations to go into for sure. Worst situations to say the least. But in the wake of the Blake Cashman signing that I just mentioned by the Vikings, linebacker Jordan Hicks is signing a 2-year deal worth $8 million with the Cleveland Browns. The Minneapolis to Cleveland pipeline is live and well, folks. It was Zadarius Smith last year, also Dalvin Tomlinson last year. Now they get Jordan Hicks. Jesus, my brain is just absolute mush right now. Continuing. I mean, we can continue being the feeder program for the Cleveland Browns, I guess. They just take all of our cast-offs except for Dalvin Tomlinson. Really wish we could have had the money to get Dalvin Tomlinson back. He would have helped out a lot in the interior of that defensive line. We're still needy at defensive tackle, quite frankly. So it is what it is. It is what it is, folks, but another one is out the door. At least we replaced him well with Blake Cashman. I feel really good about that Blake Cashman signing by the Minnesota Vikings. The former Chiefs punter Tommy Townsend is signing with the Texans on a 1-year, $6 million deal. Good punter signing. Kind of solidifies that Matt Ariza's probably going to be the punter, at least for this year, for the Kansas City Chiefs. Interested to see how that goes. He's got a hell of a leg. Really, really solid punter in college. They called him the punt god for a reason, coming off of that obvious allegations, charges that he ended up getting dropped at the end of the day. Stemming from allegations from a woman. You can go look him up. We've been over that a couple times on this podcast. But yeah, it looks like it's Matt Arise's job there in KC, unless he totally shits the bed in camp, regular season, what have you. But yeah, good pickup from the Texans. Tommy Townsend, all-pro punter this past season, so good guy to bring in, and they had all the money available to do it as well. The Bengals looked like they were going to cut Joe Mixon and pick up running back Zach Moss. They did pick up Zach Moss in a 2-year deal with $8 million, 4.5 or a little over $4 million guaranteed. It initially looked that way, but instead the Texans swooped in and made a trade for Mixon before his release. He then signed a 3-year, $27 million contract, $13 million guaranteed to stay with the Texans for the foreseeable future. I don't know how much Mixon has left in the tank. I think he fits a lot more in a Shanahan-style offense that you're going to see from Bobby Slowick down in Houston, and he's certainly an upgrade over what the Houston Texans had. Dameon Pierce had a very disappointing second year. Devin Singletary is in the wind. I think we'll talk about him at some point here, unless I talked about him last week. He's with the Giants, though. After a career year, he's with the Giants, back with Brian Daboll. They needed another guy in there. Joe Mixon fits the bill, and you're seeing a lot of big running back contracts, kind of indicative of how teams feel about this running back draft coming up. But, yeah, interesting signing there. They needed him. Hopefully he stays in the straight and narrow. He's had a couple incidents over the last couple years there, including that, the famous incident from back in college, cold cocking a sorority girl in an Oklahoma fast food place, restaurant, bar, I don't know what it was. Either way, the fact of the matter stands, that was on video. You can go look that up if you really want to. But yeah, we'll see. He's a good player. Was a good player. I don't know how much he has left in the tank, like I said. So definitely an upgrade. We'll see how much of an upgrade there in Houston. Brandon McManus, or as I like to call him, McManass, is signing with the Commies on a 1-year, $3.6 million deal. Big-time leg, kind of bounced around the last couple of years. Started in Denver, goes to Jacksonville last year. Now he is up in Washington with the Commies. Solid kicker. Let's see if he stabilizes the situation up there a little bit in Commie land. The big red wave is coming for you. I tell you what, brother. The Jets are signing offensive lineman John Simpson, I believe formerly of the Green Bay Packers, and I believe formerly of the Jets. So a reunion with the Jets. This one's for 2 years, $18 million. Another offensive lineman for Aaron Rodgers. I am sure he will very much appreciate that, especially now that he is not going to be running for vice president. That was quite a saga over the last week or so. I am sure everyone in the Jets organization, and fan base for that matter, is rejoicing that he is focusing on football and practicing what he preaches. But another offensive lineman, that should help out Aaron Rodgers this season. Panthers are adding Seahawks guard Damian Lewis on a 4-year, $53 million contract, $26.2 million of that guaranteed. Hey, good pick 'em, and especially after adding Robert Hunt, you signed Damian Lewis to a big deal as well. It is clear that they are trying to protect their diminutive little quarterback Bryce Young from getting absolutely annihilated up the middle, which not a bad idea there. He's shown good pocket awareness back in his college days, being able to step up and create in that fashion. So as long as you have a good interior, maybe you can make something of it. We'll see if the offense helps him out a little bit now that you got that handsome man, Dave Canales, that just can't stop banging other women. That's in his past. I'm sorry to bring that up. But yeah, good pickup for him. Big signing, and I think you can see there's a Panthers premium on a lot of these contracts where guys are like, hey man, I don't want to go there. You're going to have to sweeten the pot a little bit. And you saw it with Robert Hunt getting $20 million a year. You see it here with Damian Lewis getting, a little bit under 14 a year in this one. Pretty good payday for Damian Lewis. A big loss for the Seahawks, obviously. Former Chiefs guard Nick Allegretti is expected to sign with the Commies for a 3-year, $16 million deal. Any offensive lineman helps, quite frankly. They had a dog shit offensive line, bottom 5 unit in the entire league last year, and they are going to draft a quarterback at 2. It's almost signed, sealed, and delivered at this point. I mean, their only quarterback on the roster right now is Drew Lock, from what I understand. No, Marcus Mariota, from what I understand, excuse me. So yeah, this is, all the offensive linemen you can get, go ahead and get them. Otherwise, your young quarterback is going to get absolutely plastered to the field. So go on ahead, Nick Allegretti, get your money. The commies will certainly need you, and you will start and get a lot of reps right away, and that's what you're looking for. Jets are signing defensive end Javon Kinlaw to a 1-year deal, him formerly of, the 49ers, former first-round pick. He's okay. That's why they're signing him to a 1-year deal, but the Jets are a deep pass rush group, so not a bad pickup. Add some good depth. Not sure how much he'll crack the lineup, but it's a 1-year deal, so, you're not losing a whole lot that way. The Jets are also signing quarterback Tyrod Taylor. I believe that's either to a 1-year or 2-year deal as well. Didn't get the details on that, unfortunately. That's going to kind of be a theme at some points in this thing. Excuse me. But, yeah, the Jets last year kind of had their season entirely tanked by the fact that they didn't have a reliable backup quarterback. Zach Wilson certainly ain't it. You saw Trevor Siemian out there. You saw Tim Boyle, I believe, for a cup of tea before he was completely excommunicated from the team entirely. So having Tyrod Taylor in there, a proven backup, a guy that you can trust if Aaron Rodgers gets hurt again, God forbid, that can play behind that defense and get you some wins, get you to the playoffs if nothing else, because it's put up or shut up time for Robert Saleh and this staff right now. They've had too many bad seasons in a row to get any more leeway after this season. You have got to win, especially if you got Aaron Rodgers in there. Tyrod Taylor is a very good insurance policy if he does get hurt, though. The Titans are signing former Chargers first-round pick linebacker Kenneth Murray to a 2-year, $18 million deal. A bust. No other way around it. He did not really play well with the Chargers under defensive guru Brandon Staley's system. We'll see what he does with the Titans. I don't have high hopes for that. Honestly, $18 million over 2 years for a guy that hasn't really played great. A little bit rich for my blood, quite frankly. But, hey, they saw something I didn't, apparently. Hope for the best for the kid. The Bills re-signed defensive tackle Daquan Jones for 2 years, $16.5 million. His injury last year, his torn pec, absolutely changed the defense for that team for a good few weeks there. The Bills were struggling in the middle of the season before they ripped off that heater to end off the year. Having Daquan Jones in there is an absolute game changer. He's a guy that they needed to bring back after all the contributions he made. Great run stopper. Really is the glue that holds that front seven together. And with all the guys that they just booted out for cap space reasons over the last couple of weeks, having Daquan Jones back, good signing. 2 years, $16.5 million, more than worth the price as far as I'm concerned. Already talked about Sam Darnold to the Vikings. God help us. The Vikings also signed an XFL kicker, John Parker Romo, who kicked for the San Antonio Brahmas in 2023. He went 17 of 19, hitting 9 of 10 from 40-plus last year. Sure, why not? Why not? He's probably better than Greg Joseph. Greg Joseph is maybe the most average kicker in the NFL right now. So, yeah, why not, man? Why not give it a run, I suppose? Whatever. The Vikings, as I kind of, speculated in the last episode, it became official like the day that the last episode went up. Aaron Jones signed with the Minnesota Vikings on a 1-year, $7 million deal. A undisputed upgrade over what they had in the room. Ty Chandler, I assume, will be getting some rotational reps, but Aaron Jones, really, really good back, still played some of his best football at the end of last year, coming off of those injuries. If he can stay healthy this year, he has an X factor that the Vikings simply have not had under Kevin O'Connell. Even with Dalvin Cook there, he's kind of a boom or bust sort of guy. Aaron Jones is a consistently good runner of the football, I would say. Still got some juice left in the tank. I'm looking forward to seeing how Kevin O'Connell uses him, because you can use him legitimately in the receiving game. Obviously, traditional handoff, screen game, all that sort of stuff. You can just use him as an offensive weapon there. I think he can do nothing but improve this offense, quite frankly. So I love that signing of Aaron Jones. Also, it sticks a finger right in the eye of the Green Bay Packers, which tickles my heart, tickles my fancy, something good, I'll tell you what. Tight end Mike Gesicki was with the Patriots last year, drafted by the Dolphins. Now he's going to the Bengals on a 1-year cheap deal. I think it's like $3 million or something like that. Solid value pickup. You're not going to be asking him to do a whole lot of blocking. He's going to be playing the slot a lot. But with a quarterback like Joe Burrow, I expect good production out of Mike Gesicki so long as he stays healthy. I think that's a really solid value pickup for him and an upgrade over what they had last year. Irv Smith, God bless his heart, can never stay on the field and really couldn't hardly crack the lineup for the Bengals this last year. So, hey, good luck to Mike Gesicki. I think he's going to be an upgrade over what they had last season. Hopefully Joe Burrow can stay healthy as well coming off of that ligament injury that ended his season in 2023. The Jameis Winston era is officially over in New Orleans as the fan favorite is signing with the Cleveland Browns on a 1-year, $8.7 million deal to be the Nasty Man's backup. They also signed, was it Caleb Huntley, I believe, the backup quarterback of the Baltimore Ravens over the last couple of years. So Dorian Thompson-Robinson, Caleb Huntley, Jameis Winston, the Nasty Man. One of those guys has got to go, and it ain't going to be Jameis Winston or the Nasty Man. So it feels like Dorian Thompson-Robinson might be on his way out the door, quite frankly. Unfortunately, it seems like the Browns saw enough from him over the last year to make their final decision. It's kind of disappointing, too. I really thought Dorian Thompson-Robinson might make some waves in the NFL, but ultimately, it doesn't seem like he was up for the task at the NFL level. But Jameis Winston, Cleveland fans will love him. He is beloved everywhere he goes. So, yeah, it's an interesting play, though, to have the Nasty Man, Deshaun Watson. We know his crimes. And Jameis Winston, who is, famously groped an Uber driver at one point. They're really putting together an all-character team in that quarterback room. Interesting strategy. We'll see how it works out for him in Cleveland. Shaq Barrett is heading to the Miami Dolphins on a 1-year deal worth up to $9 million. Another guy, I'm not sure how much is left in the tank. He really tailed off with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers last season. So was he with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers or the Philadelphia Eagles? The fact that I can't remember should tell you just about all you need to know about his production. Hasn't been fantastic. We'll see if it works out. The Dolphins, they need all the pass rushers they can get. I mean, Jalen Phillips is coming back, so is Bradley Chubb. But adding a guy like Shaq Barrett, if he can give you, anything, any juice left in the tank, I think they'll take it. So it's a signing I'm indifferent to, quite frankly. We'll see how it works out for him. The Falcons are bringing Bears wide receiver Darnell Mooney on a 3-year, $39 million contract, $26 million guaranteed. Solid receiver, don't get me wrong here. This is a bit of an overpay, I would say. I didn't look at Darnell Mooney and say that's a $13 million a year wide receiver. I think Kirk Cousins is probably going to make him look good to a certain extent. Doesn't hurt to have another weapon. And again, he's not a bad receiver. Just a bit of an overpay in my mind. I'm not sure about the value proposition of this signing, but when it comes to on the field, I think it'll work out well for him. Add another weapon to now you got Drake London, Kyle Pitts, Darnell Mooney, a good stable of weapons over there for Kirk Cousins to work with. Solid offensive line. In my mind, clear-cut favorite to win the NFC South, and I'm not sure it's really close, quite frankly, at this point. Former Bills running back Nyheim Hines is headed to the Cleveland Browns on a 1-year deal for $3.5 million. I think I erroneously said that he tore his ACL. He was in a jet ski accident last year that cost him the entire season. And now, probably want to stay away from the jet skis if you want to continue your NFL career after this one. We'll see what he has left in the tank. Obviously, when you get injured in a jet ski accident and you miss an entire season, I imagine that's a pretty catastrophic injury that you sustained. We'll see what his explosiveness is like. Really good kick returner. A guy that if he has anything left in the tank, it'll probably be in the kick returning department. So if he is still really good, Cleveland Browns got a good kick returner, but we shall see. The Commies have their bridge quarterback. Marcus Mariota is signing a 1-year deal for up to $6 million. The top 3 seem unlikely to trade out at this point. Although you look at the Patriots, Jacoby Brissett is a guy that you could roll with this year and reasonably have him be the starting quarterback, continue to rebuild the roster before you put a quarterback in there. I am unsure that the Patriots would do it considering the relative weakness in next year's quarterback draft compared to this one. But I wouldn't rule it out, and the Vikings are going to make a strong push to get up there to number 3 to get either Jaden Daniels or Drake May, whichever one is left on the board at that point. So we'll see. The top 2 certainly locked in. Top 3, we'll see. We'll see how it all works out there. Cornerback Darius Williams, who the Jags released for salary cap purposes, is returning to the Rams where he won a Super Bowl on a 3-year, $22.5 million deal. A guy that they're still... I mean, they picked up some good players in the mid-rounds. Les Snead is absolute money on those mid-round draft picks. I know Kobe Durant played really, really well for him last year. Adding Darius Williams back, a good signing, though. They still kind of got to remake their secondary. They've lost a lot of guys back there over the last couple of years. Now that you don't have Aaron Donald, an onus is going to be put even more on that secondary and how good they are. So having Darius Williams, probably a good thing in this situation. So, interesting signing. I think I like it. I think I like it for the LA Rams. Derrick Henry is signing with the Ravens on a 2-year, $16 million deal with $9 million guaranteed. Not a bad replacement for Gus Edwards, dude. I mean, another extremely large man, a massive human being, just a giant of a man. As our former president Donald Trump once said, we'll see how he does in a back-by-committee backfield. Seems like he's a guy that kind of needs to, get the feel of the game, rush it 25, 30 times. He'll break one off in the fourth quarter. If they do intend to stick with that strategy, that is. We'll see what happens. We'll see how J.K. Dobbins comes back off that Achilles. Very much a hit-and-miss proposition sort of thing with that Achilles injury for most positions, especially running backs, wide receivers, explosive types of players, explosive types of positions. It's always kind of a crapshoot as to how that all ends up when it's all said and done. But I mean, I think if he can kind of mesh into that running back by committee system, I think they could have a really good back on their hands still with Derrick Henry. At some point, he's going to fall off the cliff. But hey, who's to say it happens this year? I thought it was going to happen last year, and he went bananas for most of the year. So I don't know. We'll see what happens there. I like the pickup, though. I like the pickup as a replacement for Gus Edwards, if nothing else, in Baltimore. Jeez. Also, speaking of the Ravens, drama alert, Ravens linebacker Patrick Queen is signing a 3-year, $41 million deal with their hated rival, the Pittsburgh Steelers. Boy, is this rivalry staying toxic. It was already going to stay toxic, but man, can I not wait for that twice a year, especially when he goes back to Baltimore. Ooh, I can feel the booze in my soul right now. I'm not talking about liquor right now. I'm talking about boo, because that's exactly what he's going to be hearing when he comes back to Baltimore. I assume some former teammates of his will have some choice words for him. Man, oh man, it's the best rivalry in all of NFL football, and it's going to continue to stay toxic, and I simply love that. And as far as the signing is concerned, this is a splash sort of signing that the Steelers needed to make, and he's the best linebacker they've had in quite a while if he plays up to what he played with the Baltimore Ravens this past couple years, really. Was playing next to Roquan Smith, and obviously he's not going to have anyone like Roquan Smith playing next to him with the Pittsburgh Steelers, but as far as a linebacker that you can plug in the middle of that defense, man, I can't remember the last one that the Steelers had that was as good as Patrick Queen. So I really, really like this signing. I think it ensures that the defense stays fairly decent over this upcoming season. We'll see how good they actually are, and have to look at the personnel overall and all that sort of stuff for Pittsburgh. But a really good signing there from Patrick Queen. The splash signing of the Steelers offseason as far as I'm concerned. Excuse me. Man. Speaking of burps, let's keep this caffeine going in the system here. Oh, goodness. That was an aggressive hiccup. I said. Anyways, former Rams tight end Gerald Everett is joining the Bears on a 2-year, $12 million contract, $6.1 million guaranteed. Hey, you pair him with Cole Kmet, that's just another weapon to add, man. Gerald Everett's a really solid receiving tight end. I don't think quite at the level of Cole Kmet, but as far as a pure receiver, he's not that far off. And I mean, now you add him to the list as well as, Keenan Allen, who we're going to talk about here in just a bit, DJ Moore. Not a bad receiving group to work with, man. Good. I'm telling y'all, the Bears are going to surprise some people this year. Everyone's going to be looking at the Houston Texans to possibly make a run at the Super Bowl. I'm looking at the Bears to possibly make a run in the NFC North and be competitive this year, make a playoff spot. They are really not that far off, man. I don't think people realize how close the Bears are to really breaking through here over the next couple of years, especially if Caleb Williams pans out the way people expect him to pan out. Watch out for the Bears, man. I hate to say it, but watch out for the Bears. The Giants, it was the Giants that signed quarterback Drew Lock to a 1-year, $6 million deal. He will be the backup to Daniel Jones until Daniel Jones shits right in the bed, which is, seemingly inevitable at this point. He's not a very good quarterback. I still question the decision to sign Daniel Jones to an extension while letting Saquon Barkley walk. Wild to me, absolutely wild. And I maintained at the time, last offseason, in the 2023 offseason, that my strategy would have been pay Saquon Barkley, give Daniel Jones the 5th-year option, or just give him a short-term deal, or let him walk for that matter. Franchise tag him even, I would say, because they didn't pick up that 5th-year option. You wouldn't be in this situation if you just franchise tagged Daniel Jones, folks. If they had franchise tagged Daniel Jones, they'd be looking directly at the draft at a new quarterback this upcoming year. But as it is, they are handcuffed to their mid to bad starting quarterback. And, Joe Shane, Brian Daboll, they did this to themselves, quite frankly. So they only have themselves to blame. Should have paid Saquon Barkley. That's the only real analysis I've got. Should have paid Saquon. All right, so we'll keep it moving here. Man, that scrolled way up in this app here. All right, we're back to where I was. Colts are keeping cornerback Kenny Moore in town on a 3-year, $30 million deal. At the time of signing, a little foreshadowing there for later, that was the richest contract for a nickel corner in NFL history, and he earned it, man. He's been a really good player for that Colts defense. Hopefully he can put him over the top this year, make him a little bit above average. They've just been kind of middling over the last year or so. But a guy they needed to keep in town, quite frankly. They can't really afford to let good players walk out the door. So really solid player, good contract. Every single bit of it has been earned by Kenny Moore there with the Indianapolis Colts. Pass rusher Josh Uche is returning to the Patriots on a 1-year, $3 million deal, $2.3 million of that guaranteed. Kind of an underrated sort of guy, a nerd favorite. Really good value for that player, too. I think he's been a really solid pass rusher really throughout his time with the New England Patriots. So a good guy to keep around there in New England going forward. Hopefully they bounce back a little bit more from what they had last season. At the very least, they'll have Christian Gonzalez back, who was playing out of his mind before he went out with that labrum surgery that ended his season last year. I can't remember if Matthew Judon's under contract or not, if he's still in there, but really solid bones on that defense. Really solid players in that defense overall. So the Patriots are bad. I mean, their offense is terrible personnel-wise. I feel like if they could play behind that defense, they're really not that far off. If they just had some solid QB play last year, I don't think they would have been as terrible as they were. They wouldn't have been good, don't get me wrong, because the offensive personnel was not fixable, quite frankly. But they wouldn't have been as bad as they were this past season. So a good guy to keep around for the New England Patriots, to be sure, Josh Uche. The Packers are bringing back all-pro kick returner Keyshawn Nixon on a 3-year, $18 million deal. A guy that they needed to keep around, too. He's an X-Factor. He's a lightning bolt in the special teams factor. He's taken a couple back over the last couple of years. A good guy to have around there. So that's a good signing by the Green Bay Packers, and they had the room to do it. Former Pats receiver Devontae Parker, who I believe was released earlier in the offseason by the Patriots. He is going to the Eagles on a 1-year, $4.69 million deal. Oddly specific contract, but good value. The Eagles will only pay veteran men with offsets from the Pats, though. So really, a low-risk, high-reward type of situation. Who knows what Devontae Parker still has left in the tank after a career that's been riddled with injuries, quite frankly. But hey, never a bad idea. Maybe you plug him in at third receiver. If he just kind of contributes a little bit, catches some jump balls from Jalen Hurts, he'll have more than paid for himself, quite frankly. I mean, he's, veteran minimum contract. Again, low risk, high reward. I like that signing by the Philadelphia Eagles. The Niners are adding defensive tackle Jordan Elliott on a 2-year, $10 million deal. And, I might be a bad analyst, but I don't know who that is. I don't know who Jordan Elliott is, but he got $10 million from the Niners, and I would assume they're better at personnel evaluation than me. So, seems good to me. Commies are adding former Panthers safety Jeremy Chin on a 1-year deal. One of the underrated players, he is a person, but underrated players in this safety market right now. That still a lot of guys are left out there right now. I mean, Quandre Diggs, Justin Simmons, Jamal Adams, probably going to be waiting a while on that one. Jordan Poyer did sign, but we'll get to that here in just a bit. There's a lot of really good players out there in the safety market. Jeremy Chin was one of the underrated ones. A really good pickup by Dan Quinn and the Commies in this initial free agency period. They've really made a lot of solid picks in that defensive room. Much better than they were last year already. I mean, I don't think they've gotten any all-pro level players, but a lot of really solid guys to put in there for Dan Quinn to work with in year one. They're improving. That's really all you can ask for in year one of this new regime. Just steady improvement. You're not asking for Super Bowl right away. Just show me progress. That's really all you're looking for. And I think Jeremy Chin really helps that for this upcoming year. The Panthers are adding former Broncos linebacker Josie Jewell to a 3-year, $22.75 million contract. Super funny money, though, because it is $10 million guaranteed. Love to see what the incentive package is on that one and how many those incentives you'll actually get. But, hey, Panthers could use every player that they could get. And Josie Jewell was a solid enough linebacker. So, what the hell? Give it a flyer. Levante David is staying in Tampa on a 1-year, $10 million deal. Almost all of it's guaranteed. $9 million of it is guaranteed at this point. So, a longtime Buccaneer staying in Tampa. I love those longtime guys staying where they belong. I mean, I feel like it's even weird seeing Aaron Jones leave the Packers after all the years he spent there. I mean, thank you for releasing him, Packers, because now he's with the Vikings, and I much appreciate that. But, all things considered, I like to see guys that have been with one place for a long time stay there for no other reason than it takes my brain a little bit of time to get used to new guys and new places and all that sort of stuff. But, glad to see him stay in Tampa. On a good deal, too, for a 1 year. Patriots safety Jalen Mills is headed to the Giants on a 1-year deal. This is a good pickup by the Giants, man, especially losing Xavier McKinney. He's not quite at Xavier McKinney's level, but Jalen Mills has been a solid safety in this league for a long time, and he'll at least provide a good baseline to work with there. Solid replacement level again, not Xavier McKinney's level as a safety, but solid enough to get you into some good defensive spots on that back end. So I don't hate that signing. Again, it's a downgrade from Xavier McKinney just by virtue of how good Xavier McKinney is, but solid replacement level, if nothing else. I mean, it's better than just rolling with whatever you got back there already. So, good enough signing in my book. Bears are signing defensive back Jonathan Owens, who spent last year with the Pats. What the hell was I even trying? What the hell was I even trying to say? I'm going to read this word for word what I typed in. My dumbass typed in while I was at work. Bears are signing defensive back Jonathan Owens, who spent last season with the Pistons after starting his career in Houston. Am I stupid? Am I dumb? What the hell was I even trying to say? I don't know. Bears are signing defensive back Jonathan Owens, though. A guy in the secondary. Secondary is still a spot of need for him. Improved last year, unexpectedly so. But they've added a couple guys there. And again, I'm telling you, the Bears are close. The Bears are really, really close. And I don't think a lot of people realize it, but this is another good pickup in Jonathan Owens. Former Dolphins defensive tackle Raekwon Davis is signing a 2-year, $14 million deal with the Indianapolis Colts as they continue to bolster their defensive line. And I think that might be the formula for them. I don't think they're fantastic on the back end. Kenny Moore is a good nickel corner. But the real strength of this defense is in the front seven. Still got the almost said what I call him, DeForest Buckner, which I like to switch around some letters and call him DeBoris Fuckner because it's funny to me because I'm a child. But you got him in the middle of the defense. Got some good rushers on the outside. You're adding Raekwon Davis in there. Zaire Franklin is a tackling machine on that defense. So yeah, I think it's I don't really know a whole lot about Raekwon Davis, quite frankly. We'll see how it works out. At the very least, you're bolstering the middle of that defensive line, which is good. Nothing but good coming out of that. As long as he works out. Obviously, there could be some bad coming out of that. I don't know, man. I'm stupid. And the Texans get their prize free agent, former Vikings edge rusher, 16-sack haver, Danielle Hunter, is signing with the Texans on a 2-year, $49 million deal with a hilariously large guarantee of $48 million. I don't know what the incentives are, but that is just objectively hilarious that $48 of $49 million is guaranteed. They're like, yeah, we don't want to guarantee the whole deal, but we'll guarantee like 97% of it. Is that okay? Yeah, sure, good with me. Thank God he didn't sign with the Bears, man. Thank God. That was my biggest fear in this offseason because I know the Bears were very interested in Danielle Hunter. And if he went to the Bears, that would have ripped the soul right out of me. Would have been devastating for your boy over here. Thankfully, he goes to the AFC, goes down south. I believe Houston is where he grew up, so good match there. And like I said, the Texans have their prize free agent. Picture this, folks. Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson on each side rushing the passer. Yikes. Good luck. Good luck to opposing offenses. D'Amico Ryans is making some plays. Shout out to Nick Caserio. He got a whale of a pickup here in Danielle Hunter. Gonna miss the hell out of him in Minnesota, even without how good Jonathan Grenard is, which is interesting that they just switched pass rushers back and forth there. We got Grenard. They got Danielle Hunter. Even with how good Grenard is, and I like the pickup by the Vikings, he's not as good as Danielle Hunter. That's just how good Danielle Hunter is. It's not a slight to Jonathan Grenard. Jonathan Grenard's a great player, but he's just not Danielle Hunter. The Texans got themselves a really, really good one for this upcoming season. And man, they are doing exactly, again, I said it in the lead up to the offseason. This is a huge offseason for the Houston Texans. They just opened up a 2-year window to make a title run before they had to pay C.J. Stroud. And they've acted like it this offseason. Adding Danielle Hunter is huge. In addition to all the other signings that they've had, they are really gearing up for a run here, man. They're the class of the AFC South, and we'll see how they compete in that gauntlet of an AFC in this upcoming season. Great pickup in Danielle Hunter, though. Fantastic pickup, especially in that D'Amico Ryans defense. Former Bills safety Jordan Poyer is joining the Dolphins on a 1-year deal. There was some speculation that that would be his destination last offseason, whenever they were debating whether to franchise tag him, sign him to a 1-year deal with the Bills. Ultimately, he returns to the Bills, but this year he does end up getting there. Ultimately, got there in 2024, and Dolphins are another team. They've lost a ton of players in free agency, man. And, maybe Jordan Poyer isn't quite as good as he once was, but good once as he ever was, as the song goes. And when you have all those players leave, man, just adding bodies is a good thing. Adding quality players is a good thing. And I think if nothing else, Jordan Poyer is still a quality player. Maybe not as great as he once was as an all-pro, but still really, really solid player on the back end. Solid pickup for the Miami Dolphins when it's all said and done. My goodness, this is why I shouldn't be drinking these caffeinated beverages. Oh, look, I'm going to go for it again, though. Yup, I'm still going to keep having those problems. Just going to be burping up a storm this entire damn episode. Oh, boy. Either way, Saints get linebacker Willie Gay on a bargain. 1-year, $5 million deal. Good pickup at a great price as far as I'm concerned. And yes, I understand Drew Tranquill kind of played Willie Gay out of the lineup last year. I know Willie Gay sustained some injuries that kept him out of the lineup. But Willie Gay is a really solid player. He flies around out there. And, really solid in blitz packages as well. I think Saints fans are going to get more than they pay for with Willie Gay on that 1-year, $5 million contract. I like this pickup a lot. Hey, hand up. Maybe there's a little bit of bias here because he went to school at the same time I did at Mississippi State. A former Bulldog, such as myself. But I really do like Willie Gay as a player. He has been a very good player since he came to the Kansas City Chiefs. Back-to-back Super Bowl champion, winning culture, yada, 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 all that sort of thing. I think it's a good pickup, though, for the Saints. I think they made some good pickups this offseason. Some bad ones, which we'll talk about here in just a second. The Cardinals are adding running back DJ Dallas on a 3-year deal for $8-ish million. Solid depth pickup there. It's not like they got a backfield full of all-stars behind James Conner, so DJ Dallas provides some good depth there. I'm okay with that pickup. We'll see how it works out. Giants add Isaiah McKenzie on a 1-year deal. You know, another deep receiver. Why not? You got a million of those already, but why not add another one? Also a returner, which will help as well, I believe. And the Steelers made a bit of a trade shakeup here. Their number 2 receiver, I believe, maybe even number 1, I would say, whether it be, George Pickens or Deontay Johnson. Either way, Deontay Johnson's out of town. He is going to the Panthers for, basically a bag of balls. They just swapped a 6th for a 7th round pick, and the Panthers have a new receiver. Probably steps in right away as he's either the number 1 or the number 2, depending on how good Adam Thielen is this upcoming year. So, solid pickup, I believe, for the Panthers. Really, especially with how under duress that Bryce Young was last year. Having a guy that can work the underneath and be kind of a tactician there, like Deontay Johnson has been with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Good pickup as far as I'm concerned. You didn't pay a whole lot to get him, so I like this. I like this a lot for the Panthers. They're starting to do right by Bryce Young. Still, poor Bryce Young, man. Poor Bryce Young. This is a good step in the right direction, though. Maybe they can salvage something out of that god-awful situation they put him into. C.J. Gardner-Johnson. Guess who's back? Back again, baby. He is back with the Eagles on a funny money contract for 3 years, $27 million base. It is only $10 million guaranteed. That's why I called it funny money. But after a year sabbatical in Detroit, he decides to make his way back to Philly, and if nothing else from a personality standpoint, I love the mixture of C.J. Gardner-Johnson in Philadelphia. He is a Philadelphia player, man. He is an asshole in the best possible way. He talks shit nonstop. Really good player as well when he's playing at the top of his powers. Had a bunch of interceptions over the last couple of years, especially with the Eagles before he went out with that, I think it was like a lacerated spleen or some shit like that. Some internal injury the year before that kept him out of the lineup. Has been a really solid player, though. Talks a massive amount of shit. Fits Philadelphia like a glove culture-wise. Good to see C.J. Gardner-Johnson back in a place where he belongs. Not that he didn't belong in Detroit, but, Philadelphia is really where a guy like that belongs. A Philadelphia scumbag in the best way possible, through and through. I love this. I hope he plays well. From a personality and culture standpoint, I love it nonetheless. Patrick Mahomes restructured his contract to create $21.6 million in cap space for the Chiefs for this upcoming year. And when you got a giant quarterback contract like that, you can do these restructures to make some cap magic happen. And they did that. Still yet to be seen what they do with L'Jarius Sneed for this upcoming year. He's very much in the trade block. Very much hasn't been traded yet, and they will not extend him with what they just did with Chris Jones, unfortunately. So, yet to be seen whether he plays on that tag or if he gets traded somewhere else, but that's a situation to monitor going forward. At the very least, they got the cap space to accommodate L'Jarius Sneed if he does stick around with the team for this upcoming year. So again, situation to watch. Jets are signing former 49ers first-round defensive tackle Javon Kinlaw. Didn't I already say this? Yeah, I already said this. I don't know why I put this in there. I don't know. But here's the numbers. $7.25 million, 6.9 of that guaranteed. Nice. I already spoke my piece on that one, so we'll keep it moving. Raiders release wide receiver Hunter Renfrow. Kind of a move you could see coming from a mile away. Has not been good over the last couple of years. Really, he had like a hamstring injury. I think he had like a hernia or something a couple of years back. Really just hasn't been the player that he once was in his rookie second year in the league. But yeah, we'll see where he ends up. Kind of a move that you could see coming from a mile away, though. Eric Kendricks not going back to the Vikings. He is signing a one-year deal with the 49ers. or so it would seem. Faked myself out on that one because I forgot where he signed. He is going to be signing with the Cowboys because they swooped in last second to land the vet. Kendricks and Zimmer reunite once more in Dallas. I believe Anthony Barr is or was there as well. So you love to see it. You love to see it. Played his best years under Mike Zimmer. I would imagine he's in for at least another solid year with Zim once again. Hate the Cowboys. Love Mike Zimmer, though. Got nothing but good feelings towards that man, quite frankly. So, also Eric Kendricks. Got nothing but good feelings towards Eric Kendricks, too. Hope they both play well, just not against my team. Deal? Deal. Okay. This one coming across the timeline. Kevin Zeitler is back with the... Oh, no, never mind. Former Ravens Pro Bowl guard Kevin Zeitler intends to sign a one-year deal with the Detroit Lions. So there you go. A little bit more of a bolstering on the interior. They lost a guard already whose name escapes me, unfortunately, but not a bad pickup to go in there. I don't think Kevin Zeitler's been with the Lions before, but it feels like a guy that was with the Lions at one point. I don't know, man. I'm stupid sometimes. But he's going to the Lions. Good bolstering the depth on the interior there. Good enough, I suppose. It's a one-year deal, so how bad can it really be? The Patriots are signing a linebacker, Anthony Jennings, on a 3-year, $12 million deal. I can't remember who he played for over the last couple of years, but he played well. So good value on that, too. 3 years, $12 million. I mean, you're paying him $4 million a year. Good off-ball linebacker salary as far as I'm concerned from a team perspective. So, hey, nothing. I mean, hey. You hope for the upside part of this. That's really all you can say. I'm really bad at evaluating these things. I'm just like, everyone did great. Everyone did great on the signings, man. Kudos to everyone for doing the best that they could. Hopefully it works out. I don't hope for bad things for anyone except for the Bears. And the Bears aren't really looking like they're going to be doing a whole lot of bad things, unfortunately. So this is just the life I lead. My God, I just lost my place on this thing. What a tough time to lose my place on it, too. This is just unfortunate. This is just unfortunate, man. All right, I've found my place once again here. Ravens are releasing pass rusher Tyus Bowser, who missed all of 2023 with a knee injury. Could probably see that one coming. We'll see where he lands. Ravens are trading tackle Morgan Moses to the Jets for a 4th-round pick swap and a 6th-round pick as well. So again, more bolstering of the line for the New York Jets, something that they sorely need after the last several years of that project offensive line that they've had. Again, you got to keep Aaron Rodgers on his feet. Otherwise, at this age, probably going to get hurt a whole bunch. So, good signing by the Jets in theory. We'll see if it works out in practice. The Niners are trading for defensive lineman Malik Collins for a 7th-round pick. Why not? Just keep throwing defensive linemen at it. Seems to work for the 49ers in the past, so who's to say it won't work this time? Not like they paid a whole lot for him in the way of draft compensation, so interesting pickup there. Eagles are signing kicker Jake Elliott to a 4-year contract extension worth $24 million. One of the best kickers in the league. No-brainer signing there, and a big bag for Jake Elliott. Jonah Jackson was the guard the Lions lost in free agency. Thank you, Adam Schefter, for telling me that on my phone as I'm looking at it right now. So I sound smarter. I'm not, but I sound smarter. Box. The hell? This must have been another dictating thing. The Bucks are bringing back safety Jordan Whitehead on a 2-year, $9.5 million deal. I love how I just so confidently just read box, right? Look at this box here. Anyways, yeah, the Bucks are bringing back Jordan Whitehead on a 2-year, $9.5 million deal. Has played very well for the Bucks, so a good guy to keep around there in Tampa going forward, keeping together the core of that solid defense they've had the last several years there. Kind of the remnants of what they had in that Super Bowl run. Good to have Jordan Whitehead still in place. The Commies are bringing in special teamer Jeremy Reeves on a 2-year deal. Overlooked part of the game, but having a good gunner out there is valuable as all hell. So probably a solid guy to bring in if you're trying to change the culture of a team, which obviously Dan Quinn is going to do at least in year one. All you need in year one, change the culture and show improvement. That's really all you need when you're that bad as the Commies have been. Chargers have released wide receiver Mike Williams to clear $20 million in cap space. Meanwhile, Khalil Mack will stay in L.A., but on a restructured deal. So will Joey Bosa as he followed suit. Both of them taking pay cuts to stick around in L.A. for this upcoming season. And, that was not all that they did. Chargers made a bevy of moves here right quick. But, got rid of Mike Williams. Also, like I've mentioned a couple times now, they, in a mild stunner, they shipped out Keenan Allen to the Bears for a 4th-round pick. I could have thought you would have gotten a 3rd for that one. But, hey, a 4th-round pick for Keenan Allen, who is now going to be paired with DJ Moore on the outside. If Caleb Williams pans out, the Bears are a playoff team, flat out. I'm willing to say it. If Caleb Williams turns out to be what he is billed, if he shows those flashes in year 1, you got a good offensive coordinator in Shane Waldron. You got good weapons now and everything that they've picked up this year. Solid offensive line that can, stand to improve in this draft a little bit more. And they're probably going to draft another receiver, quite frankly, in the first couple rounds. Mark my words, the Bears will be a playoff team this year if Caleb Williams is worth a damn in his first season. I mean, again, mark my words. I hate to say it, but I like to be right more than I like to not hurt my own feelings. So, it's a sickness that I have. But mark my words, the Bears are going to be a playoff team if Caleb Williams pans out. Bengals are releasing safety Nick Scott, who they signed last offseason from the Rams. Maybe it's a reunion with the Rams. We know the Rams need guys in the back end, so we'll see where he ends up. Former Bills cornerback Dane Jackson is signing with the Panthers. Another guy, hey, get all the bodies you need, Panthers, man. I mean, you're probably going to be winning on the back of your defense. Ejiro Evero gets another guy to work with. I mean, the defense wasn't necessarily the problem. It was the offense that was so god-awful. But can never have too many guys on that side, especially when they lost a couple good players throughout the course of this offseason. 49ers released defensive lineman Eric Armstead, and after it looked like the Bills might land him, the defensive tackle Armstead is signing with the Jags on a 3-year, $51 million deal. Wild price tag for a guy who just got cut, but who am I to say? Who am I to say, man? The Jaguars just throw money around, man. Trent Baalke is just like, your offensive line is bad. You got no corners. How about we just sign another defensive lineman and another wide receiver? Will that help? You think that'll help? And even the wide receivers, they lost Calvin Ridley, so it's not like they're that good on the outside. Again, we'll get to Calvin Ridley here in just a second. But yeah, what is the plan for Trent Baalke? I don't know how he still has a job as a GM, but hey, why not give Eric Armstead $17 million a year after a team just cut him? Wild decision, but par for the course for the Jacksonville Jaguars. As expected, the Bears are releasing quarterback Jimmy G, among others. The others were not great names. It was like Jerry Tillery and like one other person, I believe, as part of this mass layoff, as you could call it. Jimmy G is facing that 2-game suspension for performance enhancers. I'm sure he'll end up somewhere, but he's never been a really good quarterback, so I don't know. Certainly not going to start anywhere. All the starting positions have been accounted for at this point, so we'll see where he lands. Probably is going to have to wait a while, though. It is what it is. Speaking of Calvin Ridley, though, this is the splash one for the Tennessee Titans. They are signing Calvin Ridley to a 4-year, $92 million deal with $50 million guaranteed, and that is your new number 1 receiver for Will Levis. Some solid signings this offseason for Rand Carthon, our favorite Star Wars smuggler with the Tennessee Titans here. I think they've really done a solid job so far this offseason. They still got a lot of building left to do. The offensive line is its own can of worms that they need to address. But as of right now, having a new number 1 wide receiver, a solid receiver in Calvin Ridley that really wasn't used properly with the Jacksonville Jaguars, quite frankly, can only help the development of the young quarterback that they've got back there. What will help even more is if you can stay upright. That would, hint, hint, sign some damn offensive linemen. They've done it a couple offensive linemen this offseason. I'm full of itches right now. I apologize. But they've signed a couple offensive linemen. I would imagine that they're going offensive line in the first round of the draft. Whether it be Joe Alt, Olu Fashanu, take your pick. They're going to have one of those premier offensive tackles available at that spot. So why not? Why not go ahead? Hey, maybe you reach and just go for a home run. Hopefully with the project guy like Amarius Mims, kind of projected as a mid-first round guy, would be a reach to take him in the top 10. But with those measurables, and you got Bill Callahan in there as the offensive line coach, you've got the situation in place to build him into an all-pro caliber type of tackle, so why not swing for the fences? But I would imagine they're probably going to go with a kind of a surefire guy like Olu or Joe Alt in the first round. But solid number one receiver now for the Titans in Calvin Ridley. A young 29, if you ask him. He says he's basically 25. You know, I feel like a lot of people that are 29 years old feel like they're 25. I don't think I'm one of them. I'm 28, and I'll tell you right now, I feel 28. Commies are adding linebacker Bobby Wagner on a 1-year, $8.5 million deal with $6 million guaranteed. He reunites with his old Legion of Boom defensive coordinator and a guy that can plug right in right away, know the system, not a whole lot of breaking in period, a leader, a voice in the middle of that defense, the brain that you can plug into the center of that defense that I think is more crucial than teams really value as far as contracts are concerned in this modern day and age. Having a guy like Roquan Smith in the middle, it transformed the Ravens defense into what it is now. It just having a all-pro, I mean, look at Fred Warner, what he's done with the 49ers, man. Having an all-pro caliber brain in the middle of those defenses, it's hard to understate the importance of that. And that's exactly what Bobby Wagner brings to the table with the Commies this upcoming season. I think that's a really good signing by the Commies in this one. Good pickup for Dan Quinn. The Cardinals released left tackle DJ Humphries coming off of an ACL tear. The move clears $22 million in cap space and puts a solid offensive lineman on the market. Still has not landed at a home just yet, so we'll see what suitors line up for him. I imagine he lands somewhere before the draft or in the next couple of weeks, really. There's still a lot of players left on the market, though it has cooled substantially after that initial spurt of signings over the course of last week. Shortly after releasing Humphries, the Cardinals picked up his replacement, Bengals tackle, who was requesting a trade before last season, hits free agency. Now he signs with the Arizona Cardinals. That'll be Jonah Williams, tackle now for the Arizona Cardinals. It's a 2-year, $30 million contract with $19 million guaranteed. Will he play right or left tackle? That is the question at this point. I believe he's better suited for a right tackle, but they just cut their left tackle in DJ Humphries, so it seems like, well, they did get Paris Johnson at the top of the draft last year, so I would assume, you know, just a ballpark assumption that Paris Johnson's going to slide in there at left tackle and Jonah Williams is going to slide in there at right tackle. When you got a diminutive little quarterback like Kyler Williams back there, though, having solid tackles on the outside certainly helps. They've still got a really good center, if I'm not mistaken, over there. So I could be wrong on that. I'm stupid, as we've established before. But, you know, offensive line, not bad for the Cardinals right now. They got a lot of holes elsewhere on the roster, but offensive line could be much worse. Could be much, much worse. The Colts are signing comeback player of the year Joe Flacco to a 1-year, $8.7 million deal, $4.5 million of that guaranteed. Not a bad insurance policy behind an injury-prone young quarterback, Anthony Richardson. Again, you hope Anthony Richardson stays healthy, but if he doesn't, you got Joe Flacco back there slinging the pill. Not bad. I think probably a better option than Gardner Minshew, in spite of what Gardner Minshew ended up getting from the Raiders to presumably start there this upcoming season. So I like that pickup. I like that pickup a lot. I don't know if I've said more than like 2 or 3 pickups that I said I don't like that pickup, but yeah. I'm an optimistic guy. What can I say? Texans defensive tackle Sheldon Rankins is signing with the Bengals on a 2-year, $26 million deal. Solid guy to plug in there in the middle, especially after losing DJ Reader in free agency. Not sure if I hit that in this one or the previous episode. Either way, if I haven't hit it yet, I'll hit it eventually. Good pickup there in the middle. He's been a solid, underrated defensive tackle throughout the course of his career. The Vikings, boy, was I happy to hear this one. The Vikings have restructured Harrison Smith's contract to bring their longest tenured player back for a 13th season. All I got to say is, let's go, baby. Harry's back for one more year. Who knows if he'll be back for another year after this one, but I am glad to see him stay with the Vikings. He's still a really solid player. Not quite as good as he once was, but as good once as he ever was. You know how it goes. Love, love, love this restructuring, keeping him in the locker room. What more can I say? I love it. I love Harrison Smith. I love that he's back in Minnesota, and I hope he ends his career as a Minnesota Viking, quite frankly. He deserves it. It would feel weird to see him in any other uniform. 13 seasons after this year coming up in Minnesota. Wild. One of the great players of the last generation of my fanhood, at least. Browns are signing defensive tackle Quentin Jefferson from the Jets on a 1-year deal. Just keep bolstering that interior. And then after being released by the Panthers, safety Von Bell is going back to where it all started. He's going back to the Bengals for 1 year, $6 million, ultimately significantly less than the Panthers gave him last offseason. So in the long run, the Bengals win the fight. They still get Von Bell back. They pay him less. Whip, bam, boom. You shore up the safety situation in the back end there. Lou Anarumo has a little bit more to work with in this upcoming year. Good signing, good value for the Cincinnati Bengals. The Ravens are releasing Odell Beckham Jr. with a post-June 1 designation for cap purposes, kind of spread that cap hit out. They gave him a bunch of money on their market last year. The Falcons and Eagles are being investigated for tampering related to the signings of Kirk Cousins and Saquon Barkley, respectively. Not surprising, nor do I really care, though. Apparently, they might lose a first-round pick. There are varying reports on whether they give that pick to the Vikings. I don't think they will, because I don't think that's how that shit works, but we'll see. We'll see. Again, don't really care. Didn't think Kirk was coming back anyways. Yeah, in the wake of the Kirk Cousins signing, the Falcons traded Desmond Ridder to the Arizona Cardinals, new backup there, in exchange for wide receiver Rondale Moore. So another weapon for Kirk Cousins to work with, a bit more of a gadget player. Had a solid season last year, though, so I think it's a good pickup. Good value. You weren't going to use Desmond Ridder anyways, so might as well bring in a guy like Rondale Moore, right? And yeah, I think it's good for both teams. Arizona needed a backup. Didn't need Rondale Moore anymore, a holdover from the previous regime. And now the Falcons have another weapon to work with, just bolstering that receiving core little by little. I think the Falcons are really solid, man. Arthur Smith squandered a really good roster last year. I don't think Kirk Cousins is going to do that. I don't think Raheem Morris is going to do that in this upcoming year either. Chargers are signing tight end Hayden Hurst. He has had a storied and lengthy history of concussions, culminating last year with a bout of concussion-related amnesia. I am frankly uncomfortable with him continuing his football career, but at this point, I just hope he's okay. That's really all I can say. I hope he's doing well, and I hope the Chargers do well by him. That's really all. I don't really care as a player. I don't really care how he does. I just hope he's okay, because he's had a lot of concussions in his career. A lot of concussions. He is very much in that CTE worrying range. So yeah, again, hope they do well by him. I just hope he's okay. I'm frankly uncomfortable that he's continuing his NFL career, but it's his own decision. So yeah, can't fault him for that, I suppose. Bears are adding former Rams starting center Coleman Shelton, who started 30 games over the last 2 seasons, bolstering that interior, like I said, continuing little by little. Do I have to say it a million times in this episode? I think the Bears are a playoff team this upcoming year. Listen to me now, believe me later, in the words of the great Bomani Jones. Just saying, it's little by little they continue to improve over there with the Bears. The Vikings are signing former Raiders defensive tackle Jerry Tillery to a 1-year, $3.5 million deal after his release from the Raiders earlier in the week. Not a good player, but we're also not paying him that much, so whatever. We need defensive tackles anyway, so maybe Jerry Tillery can step in there and be okay, I suppose. The Dolphins are signing former Commies cornerback Kendall Fuller to a 2-year, $6.5 million deal. As far as I'm concerned, solid enough replacement level for letting Xavier Howard out the door, so could do worse. Again, Dolphins need all the players they can get, and they didn't have a whole lot of cap space to do it, so this is about as good as you're probably going to do in the situation at hand. Excuse me. Former Bengals defensive tackle, like I mentioned earlier, DJ Reader, is signing a 2-year, $27.25 million deal with $9 million guaranteed. The funniest of funny money contracts, but a solid get for the Lions nonetheless. It's basically just 1 year is guaranteed, and we'll go from there. But I mean, defensive tackle was kind of a weak spot for him. Front seven in general, they could stand to do better. So adding a really solid defensive tackle like DJ Reader in the middle certainly helps them. He is a giant dude that moves very, very well. So I like this pickup for the Lions. the Lions is the Lions at this point. They're going to be right there at the top of the division. Once again, likely jockeying with the Packers if I had to guess. The NFC North is just a gauntlet this year. My goodness. After an okay year last year, not great, this upcoming year is a gauntlet. Absolute gauntlet. They could see 3 teams make a playoff run next year, and I would not be shocked at all. Vikings, we're in a transition period. It is what it is there. We're not far off, but in this division, we might as well be dead ass at the end of the line here. Commies are dealing Sam Howell to the Seahawks, swapping a 4th round pick for a 3rd and a 6th for a 5th. Interesting developmental situation for Sam Howell now in Seattle, sitting behind Geno Smith, who essentially has a 1-year guaranteed deal left on his contract. So I don't think Sam Howell's going to beat him out because I'm not stupid. But you sit behind Geno Smith for a year, a guy that's taken his lumps, learned a lot in his NFL career. I think it's a good developmental situation for Sam Howell. Especially, you bring in Ryan Grubb, the Washington offensive coordinator. I like that pickup. I like that pickup a lot. I don't think they really gave up a whole lot in the grand scheme of things to get him. Panthers are signing former Vikings pass rusher DJ Wanham to a 2-year, $14.5 million deal. And I'm going to start burning through these things because, we're almost at an hour and a half, and I'm not even done with the free agent stuff yet. That's just how many deals were signed. So, the Panthers get DJ Wanham. Bills are adding former Commies wide receiver Curtis Samuel on a 3-year, $24 million deal, $15 million guaranteed. Solid gadget player, interested to see how he works out in Joe Brady's offense. A bit of a surprise in my book. A.J. Dillon is actually returning to the Packers pending a physical. I thought for sure he was gone. He has not been very good over the last couple of years, but appears to be returning to the Green Bay Packers. The Vikings are adding wide receiver Trent Sherfield on a 1-year deal. Sure, why not? Is what it is there. The Bucks linebacker Devin White is signing a 1-year deal with the Philadelphia Eagles. Solid pickup there after having an abysmal linebacker core last year. Former Cardinals wide receiver Marquise Brown is signing a 1-year deal worth up to $11 million with the Kansas City Chiefs. And as they're currently constructed, he's probably the number 2 behind Rashee Rice. I made an ass of myself by saying he was the number 1 on Twitter, completely forgetting Rashee Rice existed. But this is just the beginning, folks. They're going to draft another wide receiver too. Kadarius Toney is going to be sent to the Shadow Realm. Sky Moore is going to be relegated to kick return duties, and you're going to be seeing a totally new look wide receiver core for the Chiefs coming up this year. And Marquise Brown's going to have a big year. I'm telling you right now, if he can stay healthy, Marquise Brown's going to have a big year. And I think he's going to earn every inch, every penny of that $11 million contract this upcoming season, if I had to guess. The Rams are signing former Commies safety Cameron Curl to a 2-year, $13 million deal. Apropos what I said before, they need these types of players in the back end there with the Rams. Vikings, some interesting trade stuff here. They traded the number 42 and 188, number 42 pick, 188, and a 2025 second-round pick for the 23rd pick in this year's draft and the 232nd pick in this draft as well from the Texans. All that is to say, now they have 2 first-round picks in this year's draft. They're putting together a substantial package to move up. I think that is pretty clear for everyone to see. Where they move up is the question. I think the best case scenario is you move up all the way to number 3 and you get whatever the third quarterback is there on the board. And I think they're going to pay top dollar to get there. You're probably paying both of the first round picks this year, probably an additional first round pick next year, plus like a second or something either this year or next year. The Vikings are going to be making some moves, man. They tried to move up and get Anthony Richardson last year. I find it more likely than not that they will move up far in this year's draft. The question is, do they move up to 4 and get J.J. McCarthy, which would make me die on the inside? Do they move up to 3 to get Jaden Daniels or Drake May? Who knows? This is a move made with a further move up in the draft in mind, though. Make no mistake about it. Kwesi Adofo-Mensah is cooking right now. You watch the Vikings, man. It's going to be an interesting lead up to the draft coming up here. 49ers are adding Devondre Campbell on a 1-year deal after he was released by the Green Bay Packers. Solid depth pickup there, especially with Dre Greenlaw going out with that Achilles injury in the Super Bowl. Probably going to need him to play some solid snaps while Dre Greenlaw kind of comes back from that injury, being as it was so late in the year, as late as it could possibly be in the year, quite frankly. The Cowboys are releasing linebacker Leighton Vander Esch, who actually retired with storied neck issues. He's been injured a lot throughout the course of his career, but they released him, and they released wide receiver Michael Gallup. They need moves they needed to make for cap reasons. Cowboys haven't done a whole lot in free agency, quite frankly, but interesting. They didn't really have a whole lot of room to do so, so it's understandable. The Titans released offensive tackle Andre Dillard, who they signed last offseason. Not even a cap move, man. They took a $10 million cap charge. He was just that much of a disappointment as a player for him that they just released him outright. He just was not very good for him. Unrelated. The Jets continue working to shore up the offensive line in front of Aaron Rodgers, as I continue to mention throughout this thing. They're signing future Hall of Fame left tackle Tyron Smith to a one-year deal worth up to $20 million in its incentives. Who knows how much he has left in the tank, but if he can stay healthy, still a rock-solid left tackle to plug in there. And all of a sudden, got some solid depth there for the New York Jets. Elijah Vera Tucker is going to be coming back off that Achilles injury, which matters less for offensive linemen, quite frankly. He's a stud on the interior. Picked up a boatload of tackles throughout the course of this free agency. They have shown a big commitment to keeping Aaron Rodgers upright, which is, it will behoove them. Make no mistake about it. It will behoove them this upcoming season. Really helps their chances to make a run in the playoffs. The Seahawks are signing former Dolphins linebacker Jerome Baker to a one-year, $7 million deal. There were suggestions that he may end up back with the Dolphins after his initial release. That was not the case. Ultimately, the Seahawks snagged him instead, and now Mike McDonald is a solid linebacker to work with there on the interior. Not sure he's an upgrade from Bobby Wagner, but still solid player, a little bit younger than Bobby Wagner. Not a terrible pickup when it's all said and done. We're getting right down to the end of it here. Former Vikings wide receiver KJ Osborne, who I love, all-time great dude, saved a guy from a burning car, is signing with the Patriots for 1 year, $4 million. Maybe the number one receiver there. That's how bad the receiving core is right now. Not a bad pickup for the Pats, though. Figured he would probably be out of many after Brandon Powell kind of played him out of the lineup, out of that number 3 spot throughout the course of last year. Again, just show improvement, Patriots. There's really not a whole lot you can do this upcoming year to fully rectify the issues in the offensive side, but this is a step in the right direction. Bills are signing all-pro nickel corner Taron Johnson to a 3-year, $31 million extension, eclipsing Kenny Moore's contract from earlier in free agency as the richest deal for a nickel corner. He played out of his mind last year, so a well-deserved contract. And this one coming across my timeline as I pulled into my garage today. The Saints are signing defensive end Chase Young to a 1-year, $13 million fully guaranteed deal. That's a move. This is one of the free agent deals that I didn't like, quite frankly. I don't know how you look at a guy who has been inconsistent at best in his time in the NFL, that was routinely failed by every fake, every read option, every single time you ran at him. Honestly, a guy that was being targeted throughout the playoffs last year. You just run at him and yards just materialize from out of thin air. I don't know how he justifies a $13 million fully guaranteed deal. Whatever, man. We'll see how it works out for the Saints. I don't like that signing at all, quite frankly. It's one of the few that I don't like, and I don't get that signing, quite frankly. I don't get it. Let's hit some headlines on the way out the door here. We got 4 of them. And I wish I had more time to hit them, but we're just bumping right up against it. Mike Vrabel is going to be a consultant with the Cleveland Browns for this upcoming season. Smart ad by Kevin Stefanski and Andrew Barry. That can only help things on the defensive side of the ball. He's a fucking defensive genius as far as I'm concerned. Love that pickup for the Cleveland Browns. Surprised Mike Vrabel didn't at least get a defensive coordinator job this year, frankly. But good pickup nonetheless for the Cleveland Browns. This is really the one I'm going to spend the most time on here of the headlines. Nick Saban spoke in front of Congress, sitting next to Ted Cruz, no less. Wild. He essentially said that everything that he stood for in college athletics is dead, and all the players care about is how much money they make Miss Terry apparently asked him, why are we doing this before his retirement? Obviously, it's pretty rich coming from the 100 millionaire who got a raise every time someone got a little bit more money than him and higher annual salary. But I think people are missing the fact that the basis of his point is actually correct here, man. It's just a matter of messenger, maybe not the right messenger for some people, but the base of his message was correct. The current system is unsustainable, completely unsustainable in the long term. And I agree with Nick Saban in principle. Maybe not the most apt messenger for this, given his benefit from that system for the longest period of time, from the old system for the longest period of time. But this is a natural byproduct of you're signing one-year deals basically every year in transfer portal. We'll call it free agency because that's essentially what it is. Every single year, you don't have the ability to sign guys to multi-year deals because they're not technically employees. And as a result, it's basically like representatives in the House of Representatives, man. You get in there, you basically get comfortable, and it's a 2-year term, so you just turn right around and you start campaigning again. It's that same sort of mindset, except for instead of 2 years, you have 1 year, essentially. You get there, and then like midway through the year, like, okay, what kind of raise can I get in the NIL market? It's a natural byproduct of the fucked up system that we're currently working with right now in college football. It can all be rectified if you, it's a yin and yang sort of thing. It's not a perfect solution. But giving these kids contracts, 2-year contracts, making them employees to where they can't just re-up after every year. Maybe you sign a 3-year deal or something like that. Or, I've heard guys like Josh Pate propose a system where it's an escalating pay scale where if you stay at one school for 1 year, you make, say, $20,000 in year 1. Then it ups to 40 in year 2, then 60, then 80, or, go 25, 50, 75, 100 by the time it's all said and done. There's no incentive right now for kids to stay put at one place, and there's no contracts in place to keep them there for a long period of time. And as a result, you get chaos that's just centered around kids looking out for their own interests, trying to earn as much money as possible. And again, it's a natural byproduct of the fucked up system we're in right now. So again, shoot the messenger, maybe not the most apt messenger in the world, but the message he's saying is actually correct, guys. And I think we need to listen to it. And, the powers that be in college football, they probably don't care about college football as much as making money for their own pockets to be lined. Its own set of can of worms there, which we're going to get into even more there in just a second. But it's something to consider to where we need to change something here because this is simply not sustainable what we're doing right now. And you're seeing coaches leave left and right because of how much of a shit show it is year after year. Something has to be done. I think Nick Saban is right, quite frankly, in this conversation. The power conferences and Notre Dame are on the verge of adopting a 14-team playoff starting in 26 before the first 12-team playoff even happens. If you're not watching on video, folks, I just bowed my head and just shook it back and forth. A Mickey Mouse system got even Mickey Mouseier, as I said on Twitter last week. This is just a joke. College football is run by people that don't care about the sport. Say what you want. I'm not saying the playoff itself won't be a great product because it will, but every team you add to the playoff further devalues the worth of the regular season. At some point, people are going to say that. It's something that Josh Pate's been shouting from the rooftops over and over again, and I agree wholeheartedly. I thought 4 teams was probably not enough. I thought 6 teams was the perfect model. Instead, they just jump the gun, go to 12, and before they're even at 12, they go to 14. What's to say they won't go to 16? Then, why not just add the entire top 25 in your little rinky-dink playoff model, man? It's total bullshit. I don't want to belabor the point. I hate the expanded playoff. I hate it with a fiery, burning passion. And even if the games are good, what's the trade-off going to be for the regular season, man? I hate it. It's rinky-dink. It's Mickey Mouse. I will be hard-pressed to find a team from 8 to 14 ever winning a national championship. And if they do, it's probably going to be the teams that you're already thinking of. Maybe an Alabama, an LSU, a Georgia that stumbled at different points in the season. The only hope that I have is maybe this incentivizes teams to schedule harder games in the out-of-conference schedule to where, one loss isn't just a cataclysmic event anymore. That's the only way I see this thing improving the regular season. Outside of that, Mickey Mouse system. I don't need to say anymore. And to end this thing off, we had a marathon one today, folks. A lot of talking. I'm hoarse as a horse right now. But end this thing off, Mississippi State. Let's pat ourselves in the back, folks. Men's basketball team, they are in the tournament as a 9 seed. They got themselves off the bubble by winning against LSU, beating Tennessee in a stunner there. I mean, beat the hell out of Tennessee. I think I was the only one at work that felt good about that, being in East Tennessee, but I was cheering my ass off while I was at work being a bad employee. So they're in as a 9 seed. They're playing Michigan State in the first round for MSU supremacy. It is a battle unlike any other. The winner gets the msu.edu domain name. I'm looking forward to that one wholeheartedly, man. Thursday, 12:15 p.m. Be there or be an asshole. And on top of that, baseball season is upon us. We're entering SEC play, and after a bad start to the year, the baseball team just won their first series over LSU in Starkville in 17 years. State athletics are buzzing, boys. Mississippi State, watch out for them. The baseball team might be getting back into form. Maybe Chris Lamonis will survive after this year as a Mississippi State head baseball coach. Only time will tell. Only time will tell. But with that, folks, thank you all so much for tuning in. I am tired as hell. If you enjoyed this episode, God bless your heart. It was a lot of information all at once. I apologize for everything I just did to y'all. But if you did enjoy, I don't know why I'm getting this as a Snapchat suggestion, but well said on my part. If you did enjoy, hit subscribe wherever you're listening to us. Apple, Spotify, YouTube, Amazon, wherever you're listening to it, hit subscribe, share with a friend, help me grow this thing. That's what we're here for, folks. That's what we are here for. Outside of that, if you want to follow me on Twitter, it is at Caleb Verzak UA. Changed that at last week. At Caleb Verzak UA on Twitter. If you want to follow me there, kind of serves as my de facto podcast sort of Twitter. And it's, separated from my actual name now, which helps. Certainly helps to, put out some more wild tweets, I suppose. Also, if you want to contact the show, either shoot me a DM on Twitter or hit me up at the email unqualifiedanalysis@gmail.com. That is unqualifiedanalysis@gmail.com. And with that said, thank you so much for tuning in into Unqualified Analysis. As always, I've got no clue what I am talking about. One thing I learned this week, though, Sepamurat Niyatsov, a.k.a. Turkmenbashi, dictator of Turkmenistan, once told his people that to improve their dental hygiene, they should gnaw on bones, just as the dogs of his childhood did at one point. Also a guy that famously hated dogs, didn't like the smell of them. So, fun guy, that Turkmenbashi, Sepamurat Niyatsov. Fun name. But yeah, thank y'all so much for tuning in. I will see y'all on the morrow. By on the morrow, I mean this time next week on Tuesday. See you later.